Hey, yo, in this video, I'm going to break down the one mistake that Dame Dash seems to admit to making and how avoiding it can save you hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, and an infinite amount of heartache. Stay tuned. Hey, yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur. I run a boutique label called King's Dream Entertainment here in beautiful San Diego, California. And this channel exists to encourage, empower, inspire you to live out God's dream for your life. I got to send a big shout out to all our patrons, all the people that literally keep the lights on by making a monthly contribution on Patreon. They get all kinds of cool perks like a weekly Zoom video call with me and all kinds of other stuff, man. If you're interested in partnering with this channel, link is in the description, in the comments, all that kind of stuff. So, yo, this video, very different, very interesting. Dame Dash, iconic figure in hip-hop. Founded Rockefeller with Jay-Z, Rockaware clothing, done some of the biggest deals when it comes to alcohol, touched movies, multiple clothing brands, Rachel Roy, Dame Dash Studios. Man, this dude is an entrepreneur's entrepreneur, and he's always seems to have like the dopest interviews as far as I'm concerned. And just this last week, I stumbled across this interview on one of my favorite YouTube channels, The Impact Theory, which is some of the dopest interviews I've ever seen. You should definitely go subscribe and check out more videos there and watch the full interview because it's really revealing. And he does such an interesting and vulnerable interview that I feel like this is the first time, despite all the drama had gone through with Jay-Z, despite all the riffs and artist beefs that he's gone through with different guys, despite all the stuff that he's been through, I feel like this is the first time I've really seen him be this vulnerable and admit to making a very costly mistake. And I don't want to put the words in his mouth. So, you know, man, if you're watching this, you know what I'm saying? Like this is how I'm interpreting it. This is an area you feel like you fell short in. And I think there's an amazing, learnable, teachable lesson. And I think your humility in sharing it is super dope. So look, we're going to get into the clip. Oh, just so you guys know, a little bit of profanity on this. So if you got little ones, you know what I'm saying? Might want to take them out of the room. It ain't crazy, but I think it's appropriate. I wanted to leave it unedited so that we could hear just the authenticity and the vulnerability and the hurt in sharing this. And then I want to talk about it and just some practical ways I think we could avoid making this same mistake. So let's jump right into it. Dame Dash on The Impact Theory, sharing what I would call the biggest mistake or the biggest, you know, shortcoming that he's had as a man, as an entrepreneur. Let's check it out.
Yeah, define what you consider wealthy.
Wealth is happiness completely. It's how much you laugh and how much the people you love laugh. And that's really what love is, and how much time you spend.
I love that answer.
Like,
wealth is happiness.
sending money back to somebody like a child, it's not considered love because kids don't care about money. I remember when I was a child, all I wanted for Christmas was for my parents, for my mom to get back with my dad. And I wasn't able to give that to any one of my children. So I still have work to do. You know, I haven't hit that wealthiness because I haven't been able to take that most important pain to a child and take that away from my children. I fucking haven't broke that cycle. That would be wealth. If my children don't have to pick a side, if they don't have to watch us fight, if they don't have to tune out because they don't want to hear us argue. You know what I'm saying?
What's going to be the secret there? What have you learned that you'll apply? Finding
the right woman for the right reasons. So it's great because I was really able to recognize it in Raquel, but I was like, nah, this time I'm staying, we're doing everything together. Fuck all that. I enjoy this too much. So it's always looking at it from my kid's perspective, my woman's perspective. I think I've learned to take my eyeballs out of my head and put it in theirs for a second to see what they see and what would make them comfortable over me. As a boss, your job is to think about your business and your staff before you think about yourself. It's the same thing a dad does. Sheesh. Or the head of a family.
Sheesh.
So I guess me being conscious of these things at 47, being evolved enough to take the time to appreciate that's to me is wealth. You know, uncompromised, great quality of living.
Man, that is powerful. Wow. I've watched that clip several times. I watched the interview, and I'm not gonna lie. Every time he says, you know, it doesn't matter sending money to a kid, because as a kid, all he wanted was for his parents to get back. And I grew up in a single parent home. My dad wasn't really in my life like that. My mom had a lot of, you know, turmoil, and I could relate. Like, I could relate to that feeling. And then when he said, I haven't broken that effing cycle, man, yeah, there's not a lot of things I'm afraid of, but repeating that cycle. I have a son, Levi, he's 4. My wife is amazing. Her name's Monette. We just celebrated 10 years of marriage this last July. We've been together a total of 14 years. It'll be 15 years total this July. And that is, as a man, failing in my marriage, failing in my relationship with my child's mother is by far the biggest fear I have. I have life insurance, so if anything were to happen to me, I'm okay with meeting Jesus. I'm not trying to. That's why I eat healthy and work out. But failing in my marriage would be the biggest fear. And so I just felt him, man. I really felt where he was coming from. And I think this is such a obvious thing that so many of us overlook. Marriage, relationships, family. And he dropped some jewels in there, man. He dropped some jewels about family, where he said the same way a boss has to think about everybody else before he thinks about himself is the same way as a father and as a husband. You have to put the needs of others before yours. And then he goes on finding the right woman for the right reasons. He actually even goes, I think he's been reading scripture and reading the Bible and stuff, because he went on and talked about finding a partner that you're equal with. It seems like this is a much more evolved and mature Dame Dash. I love seeing like our icons and our elders evolve and mature. But what's the takeaway here? Like, what can we learn from his mistake? Because I'm big on learning from other people's mistakes. I think that's super important. I think some people need to go through and put their hand on the stove to know it's hot. I'm one of those people that, like, if you tell me the stove is hot and I've seen evidence of you getting burnt, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm not going to put my hand on the stove. That's the kind of person I am. So what is the takeaway? Well, the interesting thing is, like, in any area of life that's impactful, where you can impact other people, you can impact yourself, your health, your wealth, there's a level of training you have to have. There's a level of education you have to have. So if you're a teenager and you want to learn to drive, you want to get your license, you want to get a car, you have to go and you have to take some classes, and then you have to pass a written exam to get your permit. Then you have to, drive for 6 months with your parents in the car. Then you get your license, and then you get your license. You can't have anybody in the car for the first 6 months or a year. I don't remember what the laws are like. In California, that's how they are, or they were when I was a kid. And there's a process and there's a system that you have to go through. Education, school, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a nurse, whatever you want to do. There's a process and there's a system and there's a level of education you have to go through. However, when it comes to the two most important things about your life, about my life, who we become as a spouse and who we become as a father, we do not get the proper education and the proper equipping and the proper information. We think that we could just follow our feelings, follow our emotions, wing it, and we'll have it figured out. And the truth is, if you think you're going to wing it through marriage, you're going to wing it through parenting, you're going to wing it through being a father, through raising a family, you have something really rough coming your way. You're not just going to wing it and figure it out. Life is way, way, way more complicated and requires way more effort. And here's the deal. If you screw up in your marriage and or you just have multiple baby mamas and that's a thing for you, the cost, a guy like Dame Dash, he can afford that. He's wealthy. He has multiple businesses. He's been wealthy for a very long time. The average person having kids out of wedlock, the amount of strain that puts on your finances, having to have multiple, paying for multiple kids, child support payments, splitting your holidays where your kids are spread across multiple households, so much personal strain, the emotional and the mental strain. People adjust and people are resilient and kids are resilient and it's fine. The financial strain that has on you and your upside as an entrepreneur to build wealth, especially if you make these mistakes repeatedly, multiple times with multiple partners, man, you're really setting yourself up for even a deeper a deeper mountain to climb out of, or a deeper hole to climb out of, really. And so, like, being an entrepreneur is hard enough. Like, being an entrepreneur feels like you're climbing Mount Everest by yourself, and whenever you get to the top of something, there's another valley you got to go through. But jacking up your family life is like giving yourself a valley to start from. Like, it's like digging a deeper hole to start from, to then climbing Mount Everest. And so my advice, man, get your affairs in order, get your household in order. Think about who you're dating. You know, cats be on Tinder, swiping, promiscuous, having fun, all these different things. Like, yo, I promise you it's not worth it. Anybody I know that's been promiscuous, had multiple partners, has usually ended up having multiple baby moms, and they will tell you if they could go back, they wish they would have waited. They wish they would have waited. They wish they would have done it the right way. They wish they would have been wiser. They wish they would have had one single spouse that they spent the rest of their life with. Will Chamberlain, who was one of the most sexually provocative, sexually active people, he said this. He said, I've made love to 1,000 women, but I much rather make love to one woman 1,000 times. And I thought, man, that's brilliant. That's so brilliant, and that's so good, and that's so where our heart needs to be. And so my advice to you guys, educate yourself. Educate yourself in this idea of love and family and relationships. You're not going to have all the answers. You're not just going to wing it, yo. You're not. Like, you're going to blow it if you think you're going to feel your way to being a great husband and a great father. And those are the two most important things about life. Same way you didn't just feel your way into driving a car and become a good driver, you're not going to feel your way into being a great husband and a great father. And that is way more important. I mean, driving a car is pretty important, don't get me wrong. But that is way more important. One piece of takeaway, application, one takeaway, what I read that really transformed, and when I was dating early on, that really gave us the foundation, is a book called The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Chapman, I believe his name is. The 5 Love Languages. Start there. If you're in a relationship, you got a significant other, start that as a foundation. 5 love languages. It gives you a great way to understand how to receive and give intimacy, how to be vulnerable, understanding the different ways people share intimacy. And I recommend, and that book specifically single-handedly has saved my relationship numerous times, and really saved my dating relationship early on. And I'm so happy that I married my spouse, and just the life that but it was making the right decisions early on when we were in our late teens, by not being promiscuous and not sleeping around, when we were in our early 20s, to remain faithful to each other and to persevere through it. Don't overlook the lesson here, man. So anyway, thank y'all so much for checking out this video, man. Like, thumbs up, comment in the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. How are you doing with relationships, marriage, family? Do you have a system? Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy? You think you're just going to wing it and figure it out and just be like, I got it. You know what I'm saying? Don't overlook this area. This is more important than any other area of your life. Figure this out. And I'm not no expert. I'm not no marriage counselor. But, man, it'll be 15 years I've been with my wife this July, and I'm so grateful. And it's really because of just reading books, going to conferences, educating ourselves, taking it seriously. So thank y'all so much for watching this. Peace.